For joining me to the Breakthrough series.
Yeah,
Ryan, it's a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So as we start, could you just say a couple sentences about who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into learning about who you are.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Ryan Conway. I am a real estate agent with Keller Williams. Keller Williams Consultants, really, are based in Dublin, Ohio. I have been with this office now for a little over 10 years. I've been licensed to sell real estate for about 13 years now. Got started right at the beginning of the recession and really the housing market crash that was going on. As a lot of other real estate agents were kind of heading out of the business at that time. A lot of them thought that they had really great businesses, really great at sales at that time. By putting a sign in the yard, all the marketing, all the flash, all that, and then the market comes crashing down, and then nobody's able to sell their homes, and there's just a saturation of stuff. They can't get buyers to act. And they realize what skills they didn't work on developing at that time, and they realized they didn't really have that substantial of a business. Mm-hmm. So as all of them are exiting and finding something maybe easier or something else to do, that's really the time in which I was getting into it.
Okay.
Was to help people and homeowners that were affected by it. So I started working with like short sale and foreclosure transactions, really negotiating the short sale so people could avoid having the credit hit, stuff that comes with the foreclosure, so that they're able to get back on better footing again and get back to home ownership. We worked with all that kind of stuff, helping people as like the side effect of what happened preceding when I got my license. And as you know, it's just considered a bad time, but it's really, it's unprecedented. It had never really happened like that before. And my business has kind of just ascended ever since then. It was like every other market that we ever get into, always is like, well, I survived that. Like I went through all that experience and stuff, and it's always just going to continue to get better at that point.
All right. So, out of like the 8,000 realtors in Columbus, you're one of the top producing ones, which is great. Yeah. And that's why we're actually having this, to get to know what makes somebody like you a successful person tick. So going back to the very beginning, growing up, what was it like to grow up for Ryan? What was like childhood like? Maybe you had some kind of dreams and aspirations.
Yeah. This is going to be a therapy session. I feel like I gotta lay on a couch to talk through the childhood.
Well, it'll be good to reflect on what made you get where you are
good to do it. So I was born up in Toledo, Ohio. Don't remember really any of that because my parents moved to Columbus. I think just before I turned 1 year old. So I don't even remember that time. I gotta trust on the stories of my parents and what that experience is like. My dad always talks about in high school, him and his buddies they went to Maumee High School, and they had a crosstown rival, Perrysburg. And he always tells me about how him and his buddies went and burned a giant M in the Perrysburg football field. And it was blazing high. They can see it from the highway, all this stuff. And so anytime I've ever come across anybody in a business or socially that has been from Perrysburg or been from Maumee, generally about the same age as them, I'm like, hey, do you remember that story about some group of guys, high schoolers, that burned a giant M in this football field? And like nobody remembers it at all. So I'm trusting. I haven't found anything to verify, documented that says what he's telling me is true. But what I know is that someday I'm going to do the exact same thing to my kids and make up some grandiose story about how I was in high school and all these crazy things I did. And like, that didn't really happen.
That's funny.
Yeah. So
I was the first realtor in Columbus back in the 1800s.
Exactly. Yeah, and I've just been time traveling and all this stuff to get to this point. So we moved to Columbus when I was young, and I grew up in this area. We had lived in Worthington, and then from about like second grade through high school, I was in Powell and went to Olentangy High School. Last graduating class when that was only one high school, and now there's 4 with a 5th plan, a bunch of middle schools, and like 20-something elementary schools. And back then it was only like one tracked K through 12 at that time when I first started going there. So like that area, I've seen incredible growth ever since then.
Yeah, Olentangy's huge.
Huge. Tons of giant footprint on there. Some of the Schools around great education that I got from it. It's actually, I don't know if this is still accurate, but at one point it was actually the only district in central Ohio where the population under 18 outnumbered those over 18. It was about 51% is under 18.
Oh, wow.
Which to me just says that's a testament to the quality of schools, that people want to be there, that want to have their kids there and stuff. But I mean, there's a lot of great school districts in central Ohio, but that's a unique stat about it. So I went through my education there. My dad was a lifelong computer programmer, had his own business as well, so he was an entrepreneur. He had 3 really good clients that he always was working with, and had, I think, at least 2 of them for over the course of about 20 years.
Oh, wow.
They had them as clients, another one for about 12. So like the quality of relationships are really important, and nurturing and taking care of those people that brought you into their world. And, you know, as you're doing good for them, they do good for you in turn on that. And then my mom, she was working in nearby Worthington schools for a long time. Started out as a crossing guard, actually just down the street from where I was going to elementary school, to working her way as a weight room attendant, to working as a secretary, to end up being like the lead secretary for the elementary school that I had originally gone to before moving into Olentangy. And so she was in that school system for about 17 years. And towards the end of it, she actually ended up getting a real estate license, and was starting to do some of that stuff on the side, do the stuff with the short sales that we're doing and negotiating on those. But what had propelled her to go and get her real estate license was my dad was about 46, 47, I want to say at the time, still doing the programming stuff, but this is the time that a lot of college age or recent graduates are getting on computer science, and programming was definitely becoming a lot more mainstream. And so a lot of the companies he had been working with were realizing they can get maybe 2 to 3 entry-level guys, younger, know some of the more recent coding styles, different coding languages that were coming in for the same price that they're having to pay him. And I think he started to see the writing was on the wall, and there's time to make a shift or a pivot out of that situation to doing something else. He's still got time until he's got to get to retirement, so he's got to refocus. And so he wasn't sure really what to do. I remember him having a hard time with that and kind of having like a little bit of a breakdown. Where do we go from this? So they got into watching, doing some like infomercial type late night like real estate investing seminars. Come on out this weekend to the boot camp on this, and so they got involved with some of those. I mean, some are definitely a lot of snake oil salespeople that are in some of those industries and taking advantage of people at a weak moment. Like they kind of were in that weak moment at that time. But it also introduced us to a lot of really great people too on that. And I remember that's where I first learned about Robert Kiyosaki, talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the cash flow quadrant. I even had like the, I think it was the cash flow quadrant game. We had that. We had like a board game on it. I even got like the CD, DVD for it too, and played on the computer and stuff, and like got really into that stuff. I was still like in college at that time, and definitely turned my mindset away from like just understanding a relationship with money. Like everybody always tells you like, okay, put it in savings and stuff and just save up your money until you get something. Yeah. And then go buy it. And then like, so I always had a hard time with like, okay, I'm going to save up all this money, and then I go to make a purchase decision, and I'm like, wait, but all that work and all that effort that went into generating and getting that money to get this thing that at one point I dreamed of and wanted to have, and now I have the opportunity to go get it, and it's like, it feels unfulfilling now.
You're trading your hours for money.
Exactly. So you buy that thing, and then it's over. Like, I get to play with it or do whatever with it, show it off, and then it's like, okay, but now I don't have that drive. Like I got to now chase something else and go after something else. So it's really the journey to go after that thing that's what fuels you, not the actual like shiny object you're going after.
So as you're going through high school, and so around that time, there's the college graduates that are coming out into the programming industry. Yeah. Did you understand from that point on you wanted to pursue some kind of entrepreneurial career, or did you have something else you wanted to do? So it always went down like a path of what I was going to study or what I was going to pursue. So because my dad was a computer programmer, I actually started in college in computer science. And took some of the AP credit when I was in college or when I was in high school. Going in there,
I still remember my freshman year going into one of the labs, and I was the only freshman in a room of like juniors and seniors that were there, and I hadn't been like really, I didn't do the 101. I skipped past that because of the AP credit, so they didn't even, in the 101 they're going to talk about here's how you submit your projects, here's like the systems and stuff, and like I never got that tutorial on it, so I'm just thrown right in the lab expected to start coding and building the projects, and and I'm just like nervous freshman, I'm like, what do? I don't know who to ask. I'm too afraid to ask everybody. I still remember this one guy, his junior or senior, just like, dude, how old are you? He's like, are you a freshman? I'm like, yeah. I can grow facial hair though, so I feel older. But it's like, dude, go back to 101. Why are you stressing yourself out over this? Like, you've got tons of time. Go enjoy college.
Yeah.
So it was like the next day. I made the decision. I went to the registrar and said, okay, drive me back to 101. And so like got back on that path again. But I ultimately, it was my sophomore year then where it's just like, I'm realizing who I am more as a person, and I'm a very social person. Like I get energy from being around people, interacting with people, connecting, and being behind a computer screen and coding and doing stuff like that. It's not really a personality type. I mean, I want to make video games. I want to do things like that. I wanted to do fun stuff with it, but like, I just didn't feel that. And I was in the labs and doing the programming and stuff, and like we're working with like databases. I'm like, why? I want to make video games. I don't want to make databases. Why am I going to ever do this? And mind you, I'm the same, like a month apart from the same age as Mark Zuckerberg. So he was in his dorm at the same time building Facebook and becoming, multi-time billionaire, one of the richest people on the planet.
Yeah.
So apparently, and Facebook's nothing more than a database anyway. So we just had two totally different perspectives. I think he won on that one, but so it's more about what I could have been a billionaire. But
that's the story you should tell your kids.
Yeah, exactly. That is the story. I once was. I was on the path to be a billionaire.
Got brought up by Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, but I got outdone by some kid in Jersey. But that's not my journey though. That wasn't the journey that I needed to go on, and so it was reevaluating what I wanted to do. And I realized, like, okay, it's not that I just wanted to make video games. I wanted to own a company that made video games, and I wanted to have that business. So heading down the next path was like, okay, what am I going to do now and stuff? Like, I still want to own a business. I'm going to gym. I'm working out a lot. I enjoy that stuff. And when I was younger, like I battled with some issues with like weight and stuff and self-image. I actually went through high school wrestling where at one point I actually tipped the scales past the weight class that was just below heavyweight. So I went from the 215 weight class to like I came out of football like at like 235 or something like that. And I'm like, okay, you're gonna have to cut weight, otherwise you're gonna have to wrestle at heavyweight. And it's like that like moniker of heavyweight. I was like, no, I don't want that associated with me. Yeah. So I quickly lost that weight and made it just by the first like match. And then obviously for the rest of the season, making that weight to get back down to 215. But then I kept going and I got down, by the end of that season, I got down to like 200 pounds. And then came back the next season, still in that weight class, and I decided to drop again. And I went down to the next weight class, 189. And then by my senior year, I had quit football because I was an offensive lineman, and they don't really like linemen that are under 200 pounds. They're a little less effective at that point, although I had the best footwork, is what one of the coaches said. I got down and I wrestled 171 my senior year, so I had a journey of about 60 pounds that I had lost over the course of 2 years. And so that making that journey is like, that's part of who I felt like I was at that point. It's like, okay, then carried that into college as well. It's like, okay, I really like fitness. I see a path. I have a story that's behind it now of what I did to accomplish that, and even like, high school wrestling stuff, but then it was not as healthy of doing it. There's less restrictions. There's way more restrictions on hydration and stuff now. But I went through that journey, and I realized, okay, I can help other people that were just like me, and I can have a business around this. But as I was going through a lot of the classes, and I found I was in college, like it felt like every career path or major that you would go to, they would always talk about, okay, here's entry-level salaries at this path. And like, somehow I got in my mind that like that's what you're going to make. Like not what the max is, what the the highest people in this field do, or people that are 5 years or 10 years in. They always talk about like that entry one, and I always saw like this makes 30,000 or 40 or 50 or whatever. This you're going to have to go get a master's just to make that amount of money. I was like, that's crazy. And like,
you're like, that's not what I want to do.
And that's not what I do. But like when you're in college and education stuff, like they're not talking about like pursuing money. It's like the passion and what you're learning and going down this path. But I realized like I'm still fueled by money. Like it's like I want to enjoy what I'm doing, but I also want to make money doing it too. So like I always felt deterred when I did that stuff. So it was around, so I did that for maybe a year, and so it was my junior year when I was in college is when my dad had his kind of awakening that it was time for him to pivot, and which pushed my mom to go get her real estate license, and then they got into the real estate investing stuff, bought their first property.
So your dad went into that too?
He did get into that, and so they let me know what they're doing. I got involved with it. I mean, they became obsessive about it too. It seemed like that's all they were ever talking about, is the real estate seminars, and we went to this boot camp, and we met these people, and doing all these things, to the point where actually there was some analysis paralysis that I think that they experienced. But being around that, and it got me interested in it, and then I looked up in the classes that were available to us in college as free electives. There was the 4 different classes to get the 120 class hours to get a real estate license in Ohio. I was like, it still counts towards me getting my major, and actually I ended up switching into psychology, which still applies to what I do today, but I'm not in therapy or anything like that. I'm not like counseling people in that sense. I am counseling in real estate people that are probably their best and their worst, and I think I've helped keep some marriages together as a result of this. But
because finances is a big reason why people get divorced.
Their house is your biggest investment. I think 27% of America's wealth is tied up in their home's equity.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of pressure on this, and generally people are making moves during major life events, having a baby, sending kids off to college, downsizing, job loss, all those things. So there's a lot of stress that's involved. But so they got around that stuff. I took my classes there, and I was like, okay, I hear about how much money you can end up making and doing this, and this kind of fits my personality, and I liked what they were doing. And so I got my license when I was there, and then as we were just before graduating, I proposed to my girlfriend then, now my wife of later this month, 12 years.
Oh, congratulations.
No, thank you. So I proposed to her, we're getting married, trying to figure out where we're taking our life after that. She was in kind of counseling, criminology type stuff. She wanted to go get her master's, so we started exploring graduate degree programs. And she was really attracted, I don't even remember why, but to Maryland and going to like Baltimore area, even though we had never been there before. Other than to visit, my sister lived in Silver Spring, Maryland, which is just out like a suburb of DC and probably about 30-40 minutes away from Baltimore. So when we went and visited her, we went up there and checked out Baltimore too, and like Inner Harbor area that's there is really cool. Fell in love with that. Probably should have ventured a couple blocks off of that and saw that things changed dramatically from that spot, and there's a reason that it was known as like a murder capital of the country. I was home to Ray Lewis, so there's a great example of that. But we had never been, so we went out there and we visited. She had 2 interviews with master's programs. I think she even got offered them too. But as we were leaving that area, I think it was right when we hit the Maryland border, where she just looked at me in the car and was like, I don't think I can move this far away from home, from my family. Like, she's really close with her family. Like her sister and her mom are they're all sisters pretty much, because my wife, her parents got divorced when she was like a freshman in high school and stuff, and so she had to like really mature fast and kind of take charge. Her mom struggled with that, and still like, even to this day kind of struggles with what happened there. So so she didn't want to be away from that. So I said, okay, let's think about it, let's talk about it. We don't need to make a decision right now. But once we on that long drive back, it was like 8 hours or something back from there. Once we hit the Ohio border, I got a call from my mom, and she had already been licensed for about 2 years, and said, I just took on a bunch of clients with people facing foreclosure. In fact, some people that had multiple properties. One of those clients, she had bought like 18 investment properties, sight unseen. I think for little or nothing down.
Yeah.
And all of them about $100,000 on average mortgage on each one of them. So almost $2 million in loans around all these properties. Mind you, their only personal sources of income were she had an at-home daycare and her husband worked part-time as a janitor at the church next door.
Wow.
And somehow got qualified for them. Any loans.
Oh my goodness.
So they had got those, and she's like, I need your help negotiating with short sales and stuff for the bank's payoffs and stuff. And ultimately, we end up getting the banks to accept about $35,000 payoffs on almost each one of those. So like, there's a lot of work and a lot of loans like knocked down to quite a bit from there. Mm-hmm. But that was just one of multiple clients she had that were like that. And she's like, so when she made that call, she's like, I could really use your help here. And so knowing that we already had that conversation, she's not sure she wants to move away. I'm like, we can always go back. We can always have you do that program later or something. This seems like an opportunity right now. It seems safe. We can test this. And here we are 12 something years later. Yeah. And I'm still here and stuff because it was...
So for you, it's just, I'm going to stay there for a little bit, figure it out.
Yeah.
We're probably going to get out of here.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, this is just setting a stage. This is temporary. This isn't the permanent thing. I don't even know if I want to sell real estate for the rest of my life or if I'm even passionate about it, but I got the license. I can do it. There's an opportunity here right now in front of me. So why not?
Yeah.
And stuff. And honestly, even it took a few years and really I even still question sometimes to this day is like, am I really, I didn't really accept the fact that I was a real estate agent until I was probably like 7 or 8 years into my career.
Oh, wow.
And stuff. It was like, no, I'm helping out friends. I'm helping out people and stuff like that. We're like doing it, but I'm not like a salesperson. I'm not, I don't need to,
you're just kind of
I don't need to wear the logo or the name tag everywhere. I don't need to have my face on a park bench or something like that. Like I don't need to do all those things. I'm just helping my friends and family and some people off the internet and stuff to call and ask about properties and stuff. But it took a while to like really embrace that.
Mm-hmm. So it was more of like, I'm just going to finish these couple more projects and then I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like it's 12 or 13 years of just I'm just going to wrap this up at some point.
So did you have something something you had in mind that you wanted to do once you're done with real estate, or did you just want to get it over with and then figure out from there?
I mean, it always had something to do with entrepreneurship, and it's like I kind of landed in entrepreneurship regardless with real estate. Real estate is probably like the lowest barrier to entry with the unlimited ceiling of a business opportunity to own your own business and make really good money at it, and sometimes with not significant amount of work, but it does to be one of the top ones. It definitely takes a lot of hustle, a lot of hard work, and a lot of commitment and a lot of strong relationships with people. So the other jobs I wanted to like, I always wanted to like own a bar or restaurant. Like I thought that would be cool and have that. And then I've heard plenty of stories too about how many of those horror stories about it. And obviously you have some like the coronavirus pandemic hit, and a lot of those businesses have gotten wiped out by it. Yeah. And I even still remember originally looking at this and seeing like a bar restaurant that's for sale for $80,000. I'm like, that's so cheap to own a business. And then I realized like there's an agent in town that he does a lot of selling of bars and restaurants, and like you always see his name. You always see his name come up again and again every time these restaurants are turning over. And there's even a restaurant over by my house, I think we've lived there for about 5 years now, and I think I've seen it be at least 4 or 5 different restaurant businesses in that same spot. So like, okay, maybe that's not the right path. And another aspiration is like, I want to own a golf course. Like I enjoy golfing. It seems like that would be the life, owning a golf course. And I said that to a commercial real estate agent once. He said, yeah, that's a great way to turn $5 million into $1 million.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's not the right direction. And like, I'm kind of stubborn and defiant too. So like, no, I want to go find the $1 million golf course and turn it into 5. That was going to be my thing. And obviously, in that industry, has gotten hit too. Just like the interest in golf too is like a little bit more significant in the baby boomer generation. I think even a little bit in Gen X, but then like it seemed like it was kind of dying off. And it's like those businesses that kind of like rebrand themselves, and actually that business is kind of coming back with a resurgence of young golfers that are out there inspiring another generation. So golf's still going to survive through all that, but it's still like kind of one of those up and down industries too. Yeah. It's a trend at the moment kind of thing. And and you're kind of at that mercy. And even real estate market is kind of like that too. A lot of people, when they hear, oh, you're in real estate and it's a seller's market right now, or the market's good, oh, you guys must be doing great. That's just always the assumption. And I was like, no, I mean, I'm still doing really great, but I even long for the time where it was a more balanced market, or even a buyer's market out there too. Like, there are parts of that I really enjoy that aren't present right now, that even as other people say, like, this is horrible, I need to get out of this business, this is too hard. I'm like, actually, that was pretty easy by comparison, because like, today we have really low inventory, there's really high demand, interest rates are low, so people are really motivated to go and buy something. Yeah. And when you're working with a buyer, you're going to continuously run into situations where there's multiple offers, there's 15 offers on it, and so like, you're 1 in 50, only one person can get that house, so you got a 1 in 15 chance of getting that house, and it's only on market for maybe 24 hours, 48 hours, so you get a chance in there, so you got to hustle, you got to change your schedule and stuff to make it work for a really low chance of actually getting it. Yeah. And that was hard, but at the beginning of my career, I would work with a lot of buyers, and I'd be like, okay, you guys want to go see 8 homes this weekend? Which 8 do you want to take a look at? Yeah. And it would be on like Monday or Tuesday, and we're gonna go out Saturday, and we would be sure that by Saturday those 8 homes are going to still be there. Yeah. We're gonna go see them. And they might be like, there might be 1 or 2 we kind of like on this. There's another 8 homes that we like. Can we go see those tomorrow? I'm like, okay, cool, let's go see those tomorrow. We go see all 8 of those, so we've got 16 homes. There's a pretty good chance there's like 3 of those that they would probably make an offer on, and one that they really love.
And you sit down on the couch and just look at all of them?
Yeah, we just take a look, we sort them out, which one's the best. Let's write up an offer on this one. You know what, let's go 15,000 under it. We got a pretty good chance on that, and they would usually maybe come up $5,000 in negotiation, like get it $10,000 under asking price. We'll get some closing costs from the seller too, and normal inspections and everything like that. And so like, you could really reap the benefit. And for me, it was very easy to like build my business around that idea, because it would always be each week it'd be like, okay, this weekend I need to take out 3 different clients, 4, 5 different clients at this time, and we're going to see homes. So I'm going to talk to as many people as I possibly can and stuff, and message them about, hey, there's some really great deals out there right now, are you guys looking? And especially because like at that time, Facebook was still relatively new, so like everybody's still making like friend requests and like poking people and things like that. But like, all my high school friends, all my college friends are getting on there, and so, oh, new friend request is somebody I took a class with and sophomore year of college or whatever, and we connect, and we're like, oh, what are you doing now? And all stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I just got a job. And I'm like, oh yeah, I sell real estate. I'm like, oh yeah, we're thinking about buying our place. So like, lead generation was really, really easy to come up with that. And so like, it would just be sending out like friend requests, sending out texts to people, and connecting that way. And I'd always be like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to get that 5. I'm not going to be able to get that. And then it'd be by like Thursday, I'm like, I don't even think I can fit all these people in. Yeah. Because I don't have so many get back to me. I'm like, how am I going to make this work? But I would always know, if I'm taking them out, we're going to go see anywhere from 4 to 8 different properties during that time. Anytime I have done more before. I've done 16, I think, in a day with clients that were in from out of town. It gets a little overwhelming, they forget what they saw. But if it's in that like nice, comfortable range, I can fit this many different clients in within that schedule, and I know this is probably my rate of success of getting them into contract. Yeah. So I can almost really easily predict my success every week of how many contracts I'm going to come out this weekend with. By Monday, I'm going to have 3 new contracts, this much commission, and that's what I'm going to make. So it's really easy to systematize that business. Whereas like now, and I think this is why a lot of new real estate agents struggle, is they don't know how to map that out and how to plan and prepare for those situations. They're just hoping to submit an offer and hopefully maybe win it in that situation. But a lot of them are going to come out of every weekend or every situation empty-handed. And so there's no predictability, there's no anything in their business system. They're just hoping.
So what do you think helped you learn how to systematize and scale your business like that? Was it just intuition and common sense, or did you specifically reach out somewhere to learn this?
I mean, it happened organically a little bit over time. So like, when you're first starting out in the real estate business, a lot of times people are going to probably trend more towards buyers, unless they're coming from another industry or from a kind of a deep social network where they have people that are of home ownership type age. Like, I got started straight out of college. So I was 22 years old when I first got licensed. So like I did have that network from there, but none of them own homes. They're all coming out of college at that point. So I worked with a lot of buyers. So some other people's experiences might be a little bit different with that. So in those first several years, I mean, even though I've said like it is kind of like a short-term version of how long I was going to do this, I figured if I'm going to be working with people, there is also that option, that probability that I'm going to be doing this for 40 years from now. So if I'm going to put the effort into having that relationship now, one is I'm going to deliver them a really high quality of service, so that when it comes around, the next time that they make a purchase or sale decision, something to do with real estate, they think of me and they want to come back and they want to experience that again. So I'm gonna hustle hard and work for them in that. I'm gonna take the opportunities and the buying opportunities that a lot of other agents might turn their nose up at, where they're not gonna go jump in their car and go show a $100,000 house because they're used to selling a $300,000 house. So I'm going to do those. I'm going to do the harder, nastier transactions of, short sales. It might take, even though the name says short, they actually usually took about 6 to 8 months to complete one of those. So I'm going to take on those ones. I'm going to take on negotiating with the banks for foreclosure. I'm going to do the hard stuff because I'm young and I got the energy to do it. And I've created some of the best clients from doing that have still been with me and done transactions over the course of, a 13-year career. And once it was, so a lot of people, when they buy their first home, they're going to maybe be there for about 5, maybe 7 years. And so once I got into year 5 of all that hustling is when it really started kind of taking off for me, because a lot of them started coming back saying, okay, we're expecting our first job. We need to expand. We need more than just this starter home, this condo, this whatever. So it's time to sell that. And we've also gotten promotions on our jobs for some more stability. We're able to move up. So when I first came here to Keller Williams, December of 2009, I got a lead from our office manager, team leader, January, for a guy looking to buy their first home. We ultimately bought, I think it was like a $115,000 home. It had to go through the short sale negotiations. It took a while. It was a difficult negotiation to navigate through. And then it was 5 years later, they called me up, it's time to sell that. The market's come back at that time too. The value's up. We end up selling that house for $165,000.
And then you buy another one.
So they could go buy a $420,000 house.
Wow.
Meanwhile, they referred me friends that needed to sell a $275,000 house and buy a $500,000 house. And then a couple of years later, we sell that $420,000 house. It's time to move up or change areas that they're in. So they sell that one for, I think, like $460,000, and then they bought a $580,000 house, and I think referred me somebody else at the same time too. Wow. So like from that one original like $115,000 house has created millions of dollars of transactions ever since then.
Wow.
Just from one single relationship. So planting those seeds early in the business and creating and developing those relationships has been very fruitful and helped me to grow.
So I wanted to get back to the 5th year of your career. That's very important. Before that, what do you think you did that separated you from other people? Because obviously you did something that made people come back to you that 5th year, 7th year, and everything started kind of to take off. So what do you think separated you from everybody else? You mentioned that you were willing to go the extra mile. Is there anything else, or maybe you want to expand on that?
So what's funny, and I always like rack my brain about this, trying to figure this out, because like I don't feel like I necessarily do anything magical or anything special in what I do. I always assume like that, looking out for people's best interests, going that extra mile, doing all those things, like everybody does it. Everybody says they do it. That's a marketing thing on there. It's like high integrity or this or that or whatever thing they want to assign to themselves, but they don't always execute on that. They always exhibit those real behaviors and genuinely act with high integrity. A lot of people, what's in it for me? Me first, my needs first, instead of putting they'll say, I put the client's needs first. But in reality, they're still putting their needs first always. And it's human. It's normal that we do that and stuff, and especially as entrepreneurs and business people and stuff like that. But to actually execute and put that out there, and that is your business, is that service, is putting the client's needs first and going above and beyond, really is that differentiator because it's just window dressing to say that, but to actually execute is the differentiator. So really what was motivating, it's not because I knew that either, that I knew other people weren't doing it. I assumed that they were. So I'm like, okay, this is table stakes. This is what I need to do. I need to go that extra mile. I need to stay in relationship with them. I need to, if I'm taking them into a house, I'm not just standing there. I'm just opening the door, standing there, letting them watch, and then saying, "Oh, what do you think of it?" Like, you can watch it on HGTV and like My First Home and stuff, and like the real estate agents out like wandering in the bushes or something like that. So they're going around talking about, "Oh, that's a kitchen, that's a bathroom," and giving their opinions. And like, I'm going through it, like I'm in their shoes and looking at it. And I immediately, like, when I go into a home with them, I go, as they're looking at, this is where my furniture can go, we can decorate this, we can paint this. I'm like going into the basement. I'm looking at the walls, I'm seeing if there's structural issues, I'm looking at the ages of the mechanical systems, I'm looking, is there mold? Do I smell that? Like, I get like neck pain and stuff if I'm around like mold. So like I look out for these things, and I always, like, from the beginning, always attended every inspection that we always had, because there's so much education that comes from that home inspection that helps protect people for a long time when they're in their homes. And it was good for me, and it helped me to identify like what are the good properties and what are the things that they should avoid.
To protect your clients.
To protect my clients. And so like it was really important for me to learn that. So like, even though I'm not like a licensed inspector and stuff, and you know, I gotta preface that, I'm not making any representations about that stuff, but like I've learned so much that I know a lot of that stuff, and I can see it before it comes. And then oftentimes there's things I point out, and then when we do end up getting into a contract and they do the inspection, the inspectors point out, and they're like, "Yeah, Ryan told us about that." Ryan told us that we should be looking at that. And in fact, my inspector, I golf with him, he's a good friend of mine and stuff, he brings that up too.
He's like, taking my job.
Yeah, like Ryan always, yeah, you already know. And he's like, I actually like that in real estate agents too, is the fact that you tell people and are preparing them and looking at through my eyes, how I see a home, and helping to protect them, versus get something in a contract and have to put a deposit down that they put at risk if they have to terminate the contract, paying for the inspections, paying for appraisal. And if a deal falls through, they're out that money. And so I'm helping them protect their money as they're getting into those contracts. So there's those things of looking out for like the major stuff, the expense type stuff, but I also look at for their lifestyle too. And so like at the beginning, when I'm talking with people, I'm asking them like a needs analysis type thing, is what's important to you? What's your motivations? Why are you buying? How long are you seeing yourself there? What's most important to you? Because, you know, we can all look at different homes and get a different experience out of it too. And in fact, I've had separate clients that will go look at the same house at different times, and like, I'll actually feel like I'm having a different experience too, based on who I'm with on there, where it might be great for one person and then it'd be like awful in the eyes of somebody else. It's like, even me, I experience the house a little bit differently based on who I'm with in there.
So it seems like it's you're really focusing on serving the person.
Yeah,
you're not so much thinking about yourself first and foremost.
Exactly. So if they were like, I kind of like this, and then I start to see them make like a compromise on something where they said at the beginning that something was really important to them, and then this house doesn't have that thing. I said, okay, originally when we met, you had said this aspect, this second full bath is really important to you, and this house only has 1.5 bath.
You show them that you're reminding them.
Yeah, I'm reminding them that I'm paying attention to you. I'm paying attention to what was important to you, and I'm bringing it back up on here. I said, you know, for this price point, I know that we can get something that would actually have that second full bath. I don't think this is the right house for you. So I'm not just because I see, you know, smiles and excitement and stuff like that. Like, I'm okay being like the devil's advocate and be like, hold on. Are you just caught up in the moment? Are you tired of looking? Are you whatever? What is the motivation for you being excited right now in this moment, even though it violates what you originally had said was your goals? When I'm like, hold on a second, I can find you something better than that.
Yeah.
I can achieve those goals. And be like, give me a day. I start pulling up things on the list. I'll pull up other things based on what I see, new stuff, and like, look, there's another one over here in this area. This might be something else. There may be another compromise, but I know that was like their top priority thing. Is like, if we make this other compromise, I can get you exactly what you're looking for. And stuff, and satisfy those top priority items, and we take them over there and end up doing that.
Yeah. So you were doing that. You started doing really well the 5th, 7th year when your first clients are coming back. What is something, and we talked about this a little bit before the camera, what was something that was like a wall that you hit where you had to fundamentally change how you did your business if you wanted to continue to grow it further?
That's definitely where it happened. So it was hitting kind of that ceiling of capacity of what I could do. As I said before, that my mom was a real estate agent as well, and so we did operate together under the same umbrella, but I never really felt like we were building a true business at the time. We're just two licensed people with our own books of business, working in the same office, but not really operating structurally like that. So I found even working solo like that, I was hitting good numbers. I was getting into about 30-something transactions a year, but never could quite like ascend beyond that and go even further with it without it coming at the expense of time with my wife. And then we started having kids a couple of years after that, but I knew that was going to be coming up as our decision to grow a family. I'm like, it's going to come at the expense of them. It's going to come at the expense of my health. As I said before, I went through a path of working out. I don't work out nearly as much as I did then. So I've got some of the dad bod going on today. So it's like it comes at the expense of some of that stuff. But even like my mental health stuff of just working to the bone to try to get ahead on it. And that's not, working hard isn't working smart. So I got to find a different way of doing this. And it wasn't initially that I got the real what propelled me and moved me forward hearing that message. I had to do things wrong to begin with and fail forward essentially. So I thought, if I want to sell more homes, I need to hire more salespeople. So I had gone through, I don't even know how many at this point, but sorry to all the people that I failed on this one, but I brought on buyer's agents and like, oh yeah, I'll make money off of their production when they're in here. Problem was that like they're new, they've never done this before, they never had the experience, even just doing the contracts and handling the paperwork and the systems of stuff, that I essentially was becoming their administrative person when they're doing stuff and selling not the same clip that I am.
It's taking time you didn't have.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like taking time that I didn't have to begin with from dollar productive activity, like the most dollar productive activities that I had. And now I'm doing administrative work for somebody that's brand new.
Yeah, that's not producing anything.
And it's like, this isn't profitable. This is heading like the wrong direction, but like I'm stubborn to it. I'm going to try and make everything work. So that's why we went down that path and it didn't work out. And I didn't have like a really good interview process or how do we assess people. Like I knew about things like the disc profile, but like I didn't really know how to implement that into the hiring process or really evaluating people. It was kind of like, oh, I like you, we interact well, you're nice and stuff like that. So yeah, we can work together. And like it wasn't like a process of elimination. It was like it was a process of inclusion. How do I get this person to work with me and I can make money and we'll figure it out when we get there. And it always just crashed and burned. I brought on the wrong people. They didn't have the right personality type for this. Mm-hmm. They weren't willing to make the same sacrifices that I had been willing to do to get ahead on stuff. And so it wasn't enough appreciation for other people and how they choose to live life and do things, because I wasn't totally in tune on how I was doing it either to make that adjustment. So it took a few years later, after a point, one of the things that naturally allowed me to further my success from that point was just real estate values were coming up, so my price points were coming up, my people were coming back from starter homes to move up homes, and so just naturally my volume increased, but it still kind of stagnated at that time. There's a separate story about this too, about one thing that really motivated me is I grew up in a nice area, Powell, and I really wanted to be back there after being in a small like dorm room in college, and like this, I didn't sign up for this, I want to be back there, I want to have a nice home, I want to be in the neighborhood, I want to do that. So that motivated me, and I not long after getting licensed, I bought my original starter home on that, got an incredible deal during the recession. Bought that, and then it was 2015 we were able to sell that for a great equity boost and buy the house back in Powell again, and that was a big carrot for me. I went after that and I got it, but then I kind of stagnated after that. I was like, well, I'm not chasing anything now. Yeah. So that's kind of its own separate story, but the thing that really helps me to take off now and what I'm chasing now and is fueling me, it was 2018, in our office we had a team leader here and an operating principal that had been with the office for 13, 14 years. Helped grow it from the ground up. Usually, especially by team leader role, is usually one that turns over every 18 to 24 months. And we had somebody that had been there for 13 years, and Tracy was incredible. She brought us into it. She grew the culture of this office, expanded it, and got it to where it was. But one of the challenges I've always had in like real estate, I was always the young person. I was always the young one in the room and stuff, and the average age of real estate agents is somewhere around 55, 56. So I'm always like 30, it was 30 years, now I'm 20 years under the average from that point. So it's like, that's those people. That's how they kind of do things. I'm kind of like the rogue agent doing my own thing on it growing up. I didn't really know anyone else that was young that was doing it. So I kind of always felt like in many ways I had to kind of blaze my own path of getting there. But it was in 2018 we had this turnover, and we brought in this new operating principal that she was a year older than me that was doing this, and had Dana Gentry. She had an incredible business down in Lexington, Kentucky, had grown into office leadership and regional leadership within Keller Williams, and she was just this whole new energy that was coming in here that was like relatable to me. This is somebody that's my same age, and I always kicking myself for the whole Mark Zuckerberg thing and not going down that path and billionaire, but this is actually something that's a little bit more within reach of somebody that's similar to me, very similar personalities and mindsets, similar in age too, and has accomplished, in my eyes, more than what I had on there. And so it was inspiring. It was nothing but like positive energy that just permeates through her and stuff, and I just was attracted and drawn to that, and so I'm following her leadership, and I want to help see her as she's coming into our office and helping it to be a success. I want to help with that, and I know that she's going to reciprocate back to me and help me be a success. So she's been a great mentor and leader for me on it. And then a couple months later, we brought on a new team leader who is 2 years older than me, Troy Marsh, and he was here locally. He had been in the business maybe about 3 years longer than I had. I had known him for a lot of that time too, and seen him kind of go through the same thing of acting as an individual agent, and then started to grow a team and started really expanding and growing that business. And it's like, okay, this is cool now. Instead of me having to blaze my own path, now I have two leaders in front of me that have gone down that same path ahead of me and are providing examples. And we have a culture that's willing to share that information, that I can go to them and be like, look, here's the struggle, here's what I'm going through or where I want to go. And they're like, yeah, I did that. not to be like arrogant, like I did that 2-3 years ago. But like they've been down that path and like welcoming and offering that information. Even somebody that at one point was the interesting thing about real estate is like we are competitors, but we're also collaborative too and cooperative. So like when you have people that are thought leaders or the top whatever in their market, it gets to the point where it's not even competition anymore. Like
there's so much work to do.
There's enough to go around. You believe in abundance. You have abundance mindset. There's going to be plenty for us to all go around on it. But I lost train of thought there, but there's something it was Simon Sinek. He wrote a book called The Infinite Game recently. Fantastic book. A lot of us were always playing to win something, the finite game, like a basketball game. Like at the end, there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser and there's a final score. But in business, it's an infinite game. Like Microsoft and Apple, they've been going at it for decades. Like at what point do we just crown a winner and it's over? There isn't. Like it's infinite and it will continue to go on and stuff. And like for us, a lot of our business is like that. It is infinite. It goes on, and it's not that we just have like opponents in it and it's over. We need almost like rivals, and we need worthy rivals to motivate us. So even though you are competitors, you see yourselves as rivals and worthy rivals, that sometimes they're going to win, sometimes you're going to win and things, and really what helps all of us to expand and rise up to that is the fact that we're pushing each other. And so like you have to have that other person doing that. So like that was kind of cool, is having that transition into being somebody that was at one point a rival to actually being an ally on that and on that same side of things, and willing to motivate me and guide me and stuff to get to what he was achieving. So once I had both of those in place, and they start showing and taking me to different events. Came across another operating principal that owns offices down in Florida, I think Alabama, Florida. I know he's based in Tallahassee. Gene Rivers, saw him speak, and he broke down the path of building a real estate team. Scaling from that simple, not like. But things I love. Gary Keller, the founder of Keller Williams, he has a great podcast, and he speaks to this about having like a business plan that should always be on one page or build out, because that's where that phrase "can we get on the same page" comes from. How do you get on the same page if there's 50 pages? Yeah. If you got one page, we can be on that same page, on the same path. So Gene gets up there and he just pulls out like the big paper and starts drawing a quadrant on there. It's like, okay, number 1, this is you as a solo agent. You can do about 36 transactions a year. It's like, wait, that's how many I was doing. And like stagnating. I'm like, tell me more. So then he goes into the second quadrant on there. And this is level 2 of real estate agent team. It's not adding other buyer's agents. I'm like, duh. That's it. That's what I know. I failed. I did it and stuff. That's not the direction. It's like you need to hire your first assistant, your administrative person. They're going to handle stuff like marketing and database management and transaction coordination and client service and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They're going to take all those administrative tasks. They're going to be in front of a computer, on a phone, making those calls, follow up, managing that process so that I can be spending more of my time in the most dollar productive activities, which are going on consultations with clients, writing contracts, going to closing, stuff like that. And he even had like a side-by-side thing. It's like when you're operating as a sole agent, 50% of your time is in those dollar productive activities, 50% of your time is spent on administrative work. Mm-hmm. When you hire that other person to handle that stuff, you're now 100% in the dollar productive activities and 0% in administrative stuff. And you're paying them a salary, and you're paying them whatever per hour, $12, $15, $20 an hour to do all that stuff. So you can go do activities that are $100 or more an hour.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that starts to really, like, that math makes so much sense. So you did that. So 36 transactions solo, you have that administrative person, 24 more transactions. Hired my assistant.
That's basically what happened.
Yeah, February 25th, 2019, I hired her. 1 year later, we had done 60 transactions during that time. So it was the exact math that added up right there to accomplish that feat. And so he did that, and he said the next rung after us, you're hiring another assistant, and that has another 24 transactions. We haven't gone down that path just yet. I skipped ahead. I gotta blaze a trail sometimes, but I hired buyer's agents on that because for separate need, but that was also going to be the fourth one too. It adds another 36. So a small team of about 4 or 5, and they can accomplish about 120 transactions in a year. And we're not quite to that yet, but we're trying to head down that path. But the reason at that point, after having an administrative person, which really empowered what I was doing, thank you, Alex, really empowered, and I truly felt like I was running a business now by having that. And it's not just, it just lives and dies by me. And whether I'm feeling up on that day or, if I'm sick, the business is shut down that day. And like now, things are still going on. Even if I get sick or, take time off or go on a vacation, like things are still operating. Mm-hmm. But what caused me to kind of take a slightly different path on that is more out of necessity. So January of last year, Martin Luther King Jr. is a Monday to be exact, is when I found out my dad had been diagnosed with stage 4 glioblastoma brain cancer. It was an inoperable tumor, terminal, and his prognosis was about 15 months. Right now we're about 18 months beyond that. He is fortunately still with us, still doing pretty good. He had some initial drop off when he had to go to rehab and have his biopsy site cleaned out because there was an infection there. That's probably the worst of it, but he's gone through a lot of chemo and radiation sessions, and his tumor from the second MRI on has been stable the entire time. It hasn't grown, hasn't really shrunk, but it hasn't grown at all, and metastasized and gone into other areas or anything like that. So we're really fortunate for all that, but that time when that happened really gave me a sense of purpose. I think I might have said earlier in our conversations before about like I didn't fully embrace being a real estate agent until later on, even after I bought this, the second home and got to where I wanted to be. Like that was the period before, and then it's like, okay, now I got to embrace actually being a real estate agent now, because as what I do. So it took until this situation happened where it came about purpose, and my wife and I, we had our 2 kids, and it's like, what do I want to do with the rest of my life, because life is short. My dad is 60 years old at the time he got diagnosed with this, and given that much time, he didn't see it coming. My dad was frankly a workaholic. He would work 12 hours a day for all the years of his days and do that. And we used to try to get him to talk about their retirement, and they're like, oh no, he'll probably keep working. My mom was always like, yeah, he works all, I can't really see him not working at all. And so they're like, that's what they thought their path was going to be. But prior to that, they had actually started talking about retirement and where they wanted to be. Do they want to stay here in Columbus? They want to go out to Phoenix, Arizona, because they like to golf out there. They go to Florida, but he hates the humidity, so I don't want to do that. But so it was like this sign, and so they got talking about it, and then had that happen, and it's all just got taken away from them.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's hard to reconcile. It's like I felt like I was working that extended amount of time just like he was. It's the learned behavior that I saw in him, and I put that into myself. I was like, I can't do that because it's going to come at the expense of my wife, my kids, the entire family, and myself to do that. So I need to change that, and I need to get my own health checked out, because this could be hereditary. This could be something that happens to me. I got to look out for myself, and I know at some point he's going to pass, and I don't know how I'm going to take that. I don't know if that's going to be something I just put my head down and keep on working, if I need a day off, a week off, months, year, whatever it is, to deal with that. And as I said before, like, did stuff solo, if I shut down, it shuts down. And even if it's me and an administrative person, it doesn't do sales, and now the salesperson has to drop off and stop, the business is over.
Yeah.
And so, and I can't do that. I can't do that to my family, and I can't do that to myself and anything. So I have to find a way in which it's going to be okay for me to take the time that I need to take for that. And who knows, whatever else may ever come. If I ever get something or whatever happens, gotta have a business set up to support that. So it wasn't long after that, month or two, yeah, well, it was a month or two after hiring the assistant that I brought on the buyer's agent. It was on there. So Vinny, he joined us from a nice long career in Major League Baseball. Look him up, Vinny Pisano. He's got a Wikipedia page. He was actually mentioned on How I Met Your Mother, season 8, episode 6, I think.
Check it out.
Yeah, fact check me on that. But so he joined, and like, I knew it was somebody I definitely felt like I could trust. It was somebody I could help grow. He achieved great, high level things in baseball, and I saw where he could transition that into real estate as well, and be that person available to me when I do need to take that time off and do that. And so help him to grow his part of the business and what he does, and provide him with that opportunity. And it continued to grow from there. And at the beginning of this year, we had brought on 2 additional buyer's agents as well. One actually was one of the ones I had previously, and then she went somewhere else, and it was a bad leadership experience. Like, she enjoyed working with me. She enjoyed the opportunity I gave, the leadership and stuff like that. We just didn't have the structure of the system before for it. And now we have it, and we're getting there and further with it. And so she wanted to be part of that, and she saw the new renewed energy that I had, and brought that to the fold. And so she was inspired by that and wanted to be a part of it. We had one other one too. That situation didn't work out as well as I had hoped on it, as I'm still trying to figure out the whole leadership and team thing. So we had a little positive parting of ways on that. And then most recently, we just hired somebody else that's helping us in another aspect of the business of handling kind of our lead generation and conversion as an inside-outside sales agent. So it's just adding another kind of a leg to the business and stuff to hold it stand up at that time. Like I said, if I got to step away or got to be away from this, the business will still continue. So that's what I'm working on now, and that's what I'm building, and it's exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah. I feel like, especially somebody that's a realtor right now, and you mentioned collaboration is important in this industry because there's so much to go around. I feel like a lot of the upcoming younger realtors that were in your position 12 years ago, where you were 12 years ago, they're going to find a lot of this stuff very valuable.
Good. That's what I was hoping for.
We're not quite done yet. I wanted to do one more thing, and like I mentioned, the little game.
Okay.
So it's a word game, and basically the way it works is I'm going to say a couple words, one after another, and whatever comes first to your mind, that's what you're going to, just whatever first comes to your mind. So the first word is family.
Purpose.
Foundation.
Growth.
Legacy.
It's not a word, but leaving a mark.
That's okay.
Yeah, phrase.
Failure.
Success.
And money.
Fuel.
All right. Well,
I like the failure one. Obviously, the opposite of that is success, but like you have to fail forward. You can't be afraid of failure because it's going to happen. If you try to avoid failure, you're never going to amount to anything. So you have to accept that. You have to fail for it. You have to grow from it, and that's how you get to the success. And you and I, before we got on this and we're talking, it was talking about like when growing up, being told like save your money and stuff, like get your savings, save, and then go buy something. And then you go and buy it, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to buy this anymore. And then like even if you do buy it, then it's like an unfulfilling feeling at that point. So it's the achievement of something, and like saving is an exciting way to get there, but like striving and accomplishing something and achieving stuff and failing along the way makes like that success even that much more sweeter, and the payoff of it, like I earned this. I did something that accomplished that versus just saving up. And to that point, actually, and this could be a whole nother talk, my wife and I, we just recently purchased our first property that we're using for an Airbnb vacation rental, and starting a property management side of what I do, and this investing. I've talked with a lot of other people I know that are wanting to get into investing in those things too. And that's one of those things that's like we had to save the money or earn the money to go towards the down payment and to the furnishing and to put the money into that investment that's going to turn around really, really great money, but there's also going to be opportunity. It's a cabin that's there's kayaking and there's hiking and there's all these things there. Some of the stuff that I did when I was a kid, and like my kids are going to be able to go experience that things for the times where we don't have bookings, or say we just want to clear out a weekend so we can go and enjoy it and stuff. And like they're going to be able to get to do that. We're going to be able to enjoy that while also have an income producing asset. Like that's some serious payoff from hard work versus just from going all the failures. From all the failures, and learn to get to that point to succeed like that. But like versus just going and buying like the expensive car that you have like a big payment on, or it depreciates over time and it's worth nothing and eventually dies at some point on you. Like that house, knock on wood, isn't just going to go and die on me at some point, or go down in value either. So
that's awesome. You kind of mentioned that the formula to success often includes failure.
Absolutely, 100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank you, Tim.
I feel like you have so much more to share. Unfortunately, we can't put it all into
Part two. We'll be back.
You never know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.